What's going on, everybody? It's George to the End, and welcome back to the End Times podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Eliancy. I say welcome back because the first ever episode of the End Times podcast was just about 4 years ago, in early April of 2019. I believe it was April 11th when I was checking before doing this video. And a lot has happened in that time. You can just tell by the background and the quality of this video and the sound of my voice. I started my first YouTube channel in 2017. Had a couple of videos uploaded on there, and They did horribly. So I ended up taking those down, and I didn't record for maybe another year and some change until December 8th or December 17th December 7th or December 8th of 2018. That's what it was. So the first ever public video on my YouTube channel is on there. I say public because most of the other YouTube videos that I put, I privated them, and I was like, oh, this is terrible. All this to say, a lot has changed, and a lot has happened in those four to 5 years since then, and just want to give you guys an update, as well as being this revival of this episode. When I started the confirmation bias, when I started the End Times podcast, I wanted it to kind of be like a comedy show with me and my friends, and where we talk about nerdy stuff. It started with a reaction of The Lion King with my friend Chris, Skull Reaper. Since then, he's gone to the military, and he's doing his own thing. He's stationed in Hawaii. Shout out to you, Chris, but, miss you, buddy. But since he left, I just kind of was like, I don't really have a partner. Between the different reaction videos, I've had other people come on, my friend Brandon, his girl Anisha, even my brother. But I always just had the idea that the podcast should be with a host. I didn't want to do it by myself and just sit in front of a camera and just talk to myself the whole time. Which is funny because that's what I'm doing right now. So I scrapped the idea altogether of the podcast. The 2 episodes were still up, but I just scrapped them. Ironically enough, a couple of years ago, my friend's cousin, who was also a friend of mine, she was like, "Oh, when are you dropping new episodes of your podcast?" And I was like, "You listen to that shit? I've only got like 2-3 episodes." I was like, yeah, I like it. So I got the idea to do it again, but then COVID happened and a lot of personal stuff, work. I was working pretty much 24/7 at that point, and when I wasn't working, I was sleeping. And I also ended up getting a girlfriend at that time, so my time was dedicated to her, and when I wasn't working and stuff like that. All this to say, I was a lot busier back then. I was a lot younger back then. I was a lot more immature back then. So I don't think I was even properly ready to start a podcast or stuff like that. So here I am now, 4 to 5 years later. It's like 6 o'clock, Thursday, March 2nd, 2023, and here I am, recording the first episode of the End Times podcast in a while. And I'm just also going to use this also as a main channel update as well, just to give you guys a perspective of what's been going on, why I haven't been recording them, why I haven't been uploading, why I haven't been streaming, why I haven't been doing so much things that I promised you guys that I would do, why I haven't been consistent and all that stuff. And most of it is a combination of burnout, a combination of laziness, and a combination of just not having the motivation to do it. I realized that I was doing all this by myself, which means I was recording the videos, editing the videos, and all this stuff. I don't want to sound like every other YouTuber, but it is pretty challenging work, and it is especially hard streaming for hours at a time, multiple days, to nobody. There's no one in the chat. There's not that there's no one. Maybe there's like one or two people who would join in for about like an hour or two, and then gone. It is hard to do that. It is pretty irritating. So Twitch took a hard hit for me personally because I just saw that there was nothing there. The YouTube, there's always been views go up and down. That's not anything. The problem is I was just doing it all by myself. And when it comes to like putting the video, and I recognize it's not that hard, but just because I would record what I would do, which is probably not the best thing, because I would record multiple videos, like within like an hour. Like in an hour, I would record like 5 reaction videos, and then I would maybe edit 2, upload one day, then the next day record another one. But by the time I would get to like the 3rd, 4th, or 5th video, I would either be lazy, burned out, tired, and then I would look and I'm like, people have already talked about it. There's no point in uploading it. Jeez, no boy. And then there was also a problem with my PC. For a while, my PC wasn't working. Even now, it's still having issues that I'm fixing. All this to say, I used to record. I used to record on an old iPad. One of the first iPads to ever get cameras and stuff like that. Maybe like a Gen 2 or whatever. And I still have this iPad with me. It's right here. A new case, of course, but this is the iPad I've been using for years to record videos, to edit videos on iMovie and all that stuff. So it's a part of the channel. It's as much a part of a channel as me. It's basically me. It's basically me and the iPad. But yeah, so that's just been why I haven't been uploading. That's the technical side. On the personal side, as I mentioned before, there was like a lot of work and stuff like that. And I had a girlfriend at the time. Keyword had. We ended up breaking up late 2021. Then around that time, my grandfather passed away. So I was just depressed, really low. School was out of the question. Work was, I essentially hated my job. Loved the people, but I hated my job. Wasn't getting paid well enough. And that's why, because I wasn't getting paid enough, I was working more hours to make more money, and I would get tired by the time I get home. I didn't have a car. I was taking a bus or Ubers and stuff like that. So getting rides from people, it was not the best. It was not the best situation. It was very tough to do all that and then sit down in front of a camera and be like, "Hey guys, welcome to another episode." No, it's just hard, and it wasn't genuine. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy, and I felt like it was very disingenuous of me to do this podcast thing or even this YouTube thing, streaming with a happy smile when secretly I wanted to just not be here. That's how bad it got. There was a point where I just felt like nothing I did was ever right. Nothing I ever did was good. It was just going through the motions of every single day. And sometimes, even now, I have those thoughts that, hey, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if I wasn't here. I'm working through that. I'm in therapy and stuff like that. And I've got a good support group of friends and stuff like that. So they're helping me out with that. But there are lots and lots of times where there were days where I was like, I would wake up and I'm like, bro, I'm still here. What am I doing? So that took a heavy toll on content creating and stuff like that. However, it did help a little bit. I did find an outlet a little bit which was a little easier, which was TikTok. Over the course of the 2 years that I was on TikTok since 2022, since 20 no 3 years that I've been on TikTok, so since 2020. I've had some ups and downs on there, but just I got almost 10,000 followers on there now, so that's great. Got a couple videos that went viral, especially recently. Um, so that helped me with me wanting to be more creative and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, maybe I can do this thing. And if I'm clearing my throat, it's because I'm getting over something. I just had a sore throat the other day, and then I was like screaming a lot, so I lost my voice for a little while. So, there's that. Also, I do need some water, and I realized I forgot to grab water. So, all right, so got my water. But most of you guys must be asking, oh, why you said you didn't want to do this by yourself and so why are you in front of a camera right now by yourself making this video or recording this for the podcast? And the reason for that is I realized that in combination with a lot of people I've seen, a lot of conversations between friends, and just learning and growing as a person, I realized that I can't just wait for someone else to start doing what I want to do, And what I've always wanted to do is entertain people. That's what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to entertain people and just talk. I like to talk to people. I like to keep people entertained. And I like to talk about things I'm passionate about. So that's what I'm doing with this podcast. I'm saying, fuck it. Forget about everyone else. I'm going to do this by myself. And I also realized that it's something that can be done because I've seen other people do it. And recently, I've been in a much more creative mode, especially with the launch of another podcast that I'm part of called Confirmation Bias. Confirmation Bias is a podcast with me and 3 other of my friends where we just talk about current events and stuff like that. So, and seeing the response with those, we're on episode 8, drops on Monday, this coming Monday. So we've already established ourselves for about 2 months now. So we're doing this, and I'm like, yeah, we can do this. And if they can do this, then why am I not putting my foot forward and doing that? Especially off camera, we've been talking about different projects and stuff like that, and I've just been inspired to just do stuff for myself. So that's what I'm doing now with this podcast. I am going to finally do this to entertain you guys and to hopefully grow with you guys and potentially learn stuff as we grow together as a community, as a whatever, as an audience and stuff like that. So my goal is to entertain, inspire, grow, and to educate you guys on a myriad of different subjects and whatnot. Now, moving on to some, the very beginning, how to get the name George to the End, and the End Times podcast, and all that stuff. So George to the End came from me and my cousin. We were playing Pop Tropica when I was visiting him over in Orlando. We used to do that every year, just about every year. This is my uncle in Orlando. He had just like this really big house, nice stuff, and we just hang out and stuff like that. So what we would do, this I think it was maybe like the first or second time that we were going. We're creating a Pop Tropica account, and we're like, oh, what should we, pick for the name? His name is also Joseph, so we're like, oh, what about JoJo? I was like, okay, JoJo what? And I forgot what the name I had picked, and then he said, oh, I already had that one. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then we brainstormed till we settled upon the name JoJo to the End. It's like, oh yeah, we're JoJo to the End, yeah, because we're cool, whatever. It's supposed to be like some cool thing. But yeah, so that's where the name JoJo to the End came from. The idea of YouTube and stuff like that. I've always watched like gamer streamers. A big inspiration of mine was Blitzwinger, because my content creation thing started with stop motion Legos. So That's where it started for me. Then I was like watching, like I was obsessed with Legos. So there was Lego City Undercover. That game came out, and I didn't have the game, so I was like, okay, let me watch somebody else play it so I can know what happens, be entertained by it. And that's where I found this at the time smaller creator um, called Blitzwinger, and I was like, okay, cool, we'll watch this one. And I just ended up watching more of his like Lego game reactions and other games. He was doing Minecraft and stuff like that. And that inspired. I was like, hey, I would love to do that because he looked like he was having so much fun. And he did it by himself. So I'm like, okay, he's doing it by himself, so I can do it by myself. I didn't have any games at this time. I think I may have had Minecraft, but the computer I had could not run Minecraft for shit. So I was like, okay, we're not gonna do that. I'm just gonna wait till I get a better device. A few years later, we moved to this new neighborhood, and me and my brother, we had some friends there. One of them had a PS4. This is when the PS4 just came out, and he got Modern Warfare Call of Duty Black Ops 3, and we would play together, and we would stream, and that's where we started streaming stuff like that kind of stuff. It didn't really go anywhere, and I don't think we had got any views, but that's how we started. And then over time, I moved away from games because like, what's an easier thing I can do? Because I want to entertain people. So like, what's something else we can do? And then that's when I started watching some other YouTubers who I was watching. I think it was Physical Gamer. It was PG something. Physical Gamer, I think it was, or something. I gotta. It's gonna be here while I'm editing it. I'm just gonna put it right here. But something gamer, and he would play video games, but he would also review and react to episodes of The Walking Dead. And I was a huge Walking Dead fan. So I was like, oh shoot, maybe this is something I can do. Let me look into this. And I think he did one on Game of Thrones. I'm not 100% sure. No, Game of Thrones was independent of that. So what I would do, I knew that people did reactions and reviews, so I was like, oh, let me look up some Game of Thrones reviews, because this was around the time season 5 ended, or was airing. So, finished season 5, I was like, fuck, dang, I would like to talk about, I'm like, let me see if anyone's like reacting or reviewing or, talking about Game of Thrones. So I looked up, found a couple things, and I found this one channel called Smokescreen. And I still watch him to this day. Shout out you, Chris from Smokescreen. He actually got a book that I read called Crimson Guts. So shout out to you, Chris from Smokescreen. Big inspiration. So I was like, oh dang, he really loves this thing. So like he's doing that. Maybe I can do it. So then season 6 rolled around, and I was like, oh, this was around the time that I was also a big Marvel fan. So I was watching Marvel reactions. So channels like Chris from Smokescreen or Charlie from Emergency Awesome, I would watch those two damn near religiously. Even to this day, I still watch Charlie from Emergency Awesome, Chris from Smokescreen. I still watch them, and even Trev Chan too. He used to do a lot of things for Walking Dead, which just ended. So I would watch those three channels. I would watch those three religiously. On and off, I would watch other channels like Nerdist and stuff like that, because Geek and all those other channels. But those three are really like the pillars of like my inspiration, along with Blitzwinger. And so, this was about the time where we were getting ready for Avengers Endgame, because we all saw Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then we were like all anticipating for Avengers Endgame, Avengers 4. What's the title? Like, they wouldn't drop the title. Like, oh, the name of the title is not going to be anywhere found in any of the other movies. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, this got to be misleading. Crazy stuff. So I had this theory, and a lot of people also shared this theory. The name was going to be Endgame, but we had no idea. And you can see this in the video. This is the first video that I have on the channel. It's like, what's it gonna be? It's gonna be Endgame or whatever. So I made like this whole skit thing. That's another thing I used to do with the early videos, and I even did that with the Flash trailer reaction. So I would do like little mini skits just to get people hyped for it. And I'm like, okay, what is it gonna be? So I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. This is it. This is it. This is the video we're gonna make. This is it. This one that's gonna go up. It's gonna be uploaded. Because I had uploaded a couple other videos. They didn't. I was like, and then I went back on them like, this is terrible. This is ugly. I even got one bad comment on one, and I just ended up dropping that. But this was it. So I'm reacting. I turn on the TV, and I'm like, yo, this is it. And from then, the rest is history. And on and off, I've been doing that. But then, as life got, I stopped making videos for a while. Then I tried to come back with, Twitch, just uploading all the main thing from the main VOD from Twitch. I would just put that on YouTube and just do the stuff like that. So that's what I would do. And then moving on. Cut to 4 years later, here we are right now, where I was doing the podcast with my friends. And after the podcast, we're talking about like, yo, this is really, like, we're looking at the numbers and we're like, it's doing pretty well. I'm like, yeah, this is really something that we can do. And if we stick by it, by the end of this year, we may have, we may be starting to make some money from this. Now, for me, it's never really been about the money, but being realistic, I'm looking at the analytics and, I'm like, okay, maybe this is something we can make some money off. And so I'm like, okay, maybe. And then I started thinking back to the old podcast that I was doing. And every week we would do this topic, and I'm like, I can talk more about this. But, there's 4 people, so everyone wants to do the thing. And they want to have like this thing where it's like an hour long. So I was like, okay, just 1 hour, so not passing by an hour. Which is hard to do when you got 4 people, but I digress. So we started like, okay, I was thinking to myself, hey, I could keep talking about this. This is something that I, want to talk. I want to continue the conversation about this. And so I'm like, oof, I had this. I should have said this. I should have said that. I should have said this. I should have said that. Always after the recording. So what I ended up doing is I kept thinking to myself, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bring back the End Times podcast. We're finally gonna do this. And I'm like, how are we gonna do this? Like, how do I explain where I've been? All this kind of stuff. So I had like this script, and I kept going over the script. I deleted it. I made another one. I'm like, okay, whatever. We're just gonna freeball it, and hence what I'm doing now. So, what's been happening within the time from the first episode of the End Times podcast to now? I moved to a new place. It's a much, not bigger, but I would say much more organized, more spacious place. I got a car, which is so much better. Got a better job. I got older. I changed my look. I had the earrings. I had like the patchy beard. Got this crazy hairstyle. I still miss it sometimes, but this is me now. So doing this. I don't know what's up with my barber. He's like doing something weird. I haven't gotten a proper haircut in a while, if you couldn't tell. But yeah, so that's what's been going on. And I've just been rejuvenated to just talk more. So what I plan on doing is making this, for now, is going to be a weekly. We're going to try it out with a weekly upload. And if that works, we're going to try it with bi-weekly. So I want to be able to do one about like just general pop culture stuff. So, what's been going on lately, different topics. We'll have a main topic, but then we will dive deeper into other, and maybe segue into other topics and stuff like that. So that's what's going to be for the main part. But another thing I want to do is I do want to start talking more about things that matter to me. So me, a little bit about myself. I am a Christian. I am Catholic. That's been something that's been really important to me personally. My faith, if you got a problem with that, oh well. But my faith has always been a big thing, especially recently with just the stuff that I've been going through. My faith has been there. Like, it's really, for lack of a better word, it has saved my life. And with the faith, that's where I met my group of friends. We've been friends for well over 6 years now. So, yeah, it's been a while. So, that's something I definitely want to talk about with this podcast. Maybe I may make a separate podcast and just talk about strictly like Christian stuff or not. I haven't decided that yet. I just know that this podcast has already been like established with the company that I not with the website that I done. So making two podcasts, I gotta make a separate account for that. So it's a bit of annoyance. So that's what I'm gonna do. Is gonna talk. We're gonna have the goal is to have like one for entertainment, one about faith, and one it may overlap, but that's kind of it for that part. That's what I'm planning. Confirmation bias, that's still something that I'm a part of right now, so that kind of stuff. There is a couple of other like things that I'm working on in the background. So one thing is a media group that I'm trying to join with a friend of mine who's in charge of that. I'm trying to see if we can do something together, and I want to take my brand, for lack of a better word, to the next level. So make what that means with merch, stuff like that. Obviously, that's later on down the road with of course, with the growth of an audience. But yeah, so that's just kind of what's been up. I really wish I had stuck to the script. I really wish I had stuck to the script, because then I would know what's up next. But another thing that's been going on, I've been kind of just in the swamp, just not sure what to do with life. Like school, it's college is I'm realizing now it's just really not for me, and it's kind of been a hard pill to swallow, because parents have this high expectation of what they want you to do. So college is something that I'm in right now, but I really don't know. So I'm kind of like just still stuck in the muck a little bit, but I know what I want to do at least now. I know what I want to do. It's just how do I get to that end point of what I want to do. That's what's going to be difficult. So that's that I think that covers everything for the most part. Where I've been for these few years, where the name came from. The podcast name, where it came from. I'm always just wanted to do the podcast. So I was like, what can I do that like still tied to the brand? And what's a cool name? And I was like, what about Daend? So I wanted to do something to end something, because I didn't want to do JoJo to the podcast. Like that sounds stupid, or to the podcast or whatever. So like, what about something that sounds kind of like a newspaper type thing, like journalistic type thing. I'm like, okay, what else? Well, what can that be? So to the end news, I'm like, but that means I'm only covering news, so that's not viable. So I was like, okay, what else? And I was like, oh, what about the end times? The end times, like the New York, like you have the New York Times and whatever times. So what about the end times? And I was like, okay, because and it also is like a double entendre, because the end times is coming, that kind of thing, like a little fun little thing like that. So I was like, boom, there you go, the End Times podcast. That's the name of it. And on Twitch, slowly building a community. Well, we were slowly building a community, and I'll call them the ETA, the End Times Army. So it's like it all works out. So that's kind of what it is there. We are the ETA, the End Times Army. We also have the main channel, JoJo to the End, JoJo to the End on Twitch, also on TikTok. Pretty much everywhere it's gonna be the same name, JoJo to the End. Everywhere except for here on the podcast. Obviously, it's the End Times podcast, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, other projects I have in the works. I do want to do more acting stuff on TikTok, so that's more on the TikTok side, doing more acting stuff. Maybe hey, maybe I might be an actor. It's weird. I've always wanted. There's lots of things I've always wanted to be. Like I started off. There's a lot of things I'm passionate about, and I always joke to myself that if I could clone myself, then I could do everything that I really wanted to do. Because I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. So my first love was like dinosaurs and astronomy. I wanted to be an astronaut. Basic kind of the basic kid stuff. I wanted to be an astronaut. Then I never wanted to be a paleontologist. I just loved dinosaurs, so I was a big fan of that. Um, then I wanted to make content, starting with like stop motion. That's what I wanted to do. And then I think with the stop motion, kind of sort of came a love for voice acting, because I would do like different voices for the different characters. So I guess that kind of came out. And then I just that. And then I wanted to do reactions. I still somewhat still do reactions and reviews and stuff like that. So that's something it's in the works. I do want to get better articulating my thoughts. I kind of come off as rambling sometimes, and I jumble up the words, and I stumble on the words. So that's what I want to do. I got to keep reminding myself to breathe and get all the words, properly. And if I'm going too slow, then I can just edit it and post. That's something that I gotta ingrain in my head. But yeah, so that's a little bit of what I'm passionate about. I also like to teach people. I am a CCD teacher, or Sunday school teacher, at church. Sundays I'm usually just don't call me on Sundays. Just don't call me on Sundays, because I'm there almost all day. Either I'm because I am also in the choir. I'm also like a youth group leader, and yeah, very, very, very deeply ingrained in the church. And if that's not for you, that's fine. I'm not gonna be preaching to you guys. Just sometimes, if the topic arises of a certain topic, I may give the perspective of something. I'll definitely play devil's advocate, but for the most part, it will be through the lens of what I believe in, because I'm kind of like done being not politically correct, but more so I'm done with being afraid to say what's on my mind. Now, I'm not gonna say, oh, fuck this, fuck that, for that. I'm not gonna be cussing every other minute, but I would like to bring my perspective to different topics. Like we'll talk about a topic, and I will not be afraid to give my own opinion on it. If you don't like that opinion, that's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. I literally say that at the end of every video. If you liked it, that's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. But if you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. If you didn't, that's fine. You can also hit the like button, subscribe, and share, and let me know how I can improve for you guys. That's what I always say all the time. If you don't like my opinion, that's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion, but that shouldn't stop you from watching, because we're not only going to be talking about one specific topic. We're going to be talking about about other stuff. And if you don't agree with me on one thing, maybe you'll agree with me on another thing, and that's fine, because when it comes to people in general, it should be expected that people will disagree, because we all have different experiences and stuff like that. And that's briefly kind of what we talk about on confirmation bias in the last few episodes that dropped. One of them was about inclusivity. That one hasn't dropped yet, but one of them is going to be about inclusivity, and then another one is about different experiences and stuff like that. It's kind of been like an overarching theme that our own experiences, it's natural to have those experiences, but just because we have different experiences doesn't mean that I'm inherently right and you're wrong, or vice versa. We can both be correct and we can both be wrong at the same time, in the sense that we see the sky. We see the sky. We both see the sky. So we're both right. We both see the sky. However, you see it as blue. I see it as orange. Now, sometimes during sunset, it's orange. So I'm right. But during the day, when it's high in the sky, it's blue. So you're also right. It's possible for both of us to be right and wrong at the same time. But then, what if it's a cloudy day? Then we're both wrong, but we both still see the sky. So maybe that's not the best analogy. I'm not very good at analogies, if you can tell. But suffice to say that we all have our own personal experiences, and we all have our own opinions on certain things. And just because we have differing opinions doesn't mean that we can't listen to each other and learn from each other. Maybe I see it a certain way, and when I say it, you're like, oh, I never thought of it like that. Huh. I see your point of view. Maybe I agree with you. At the same time, if you don't agree, if you listen and all that and you still don't agree, that is also fine. That's perfectly fine. The point of a dialogue or discussion is not necessarily to convince you. It's just to give you my thoughts, and you learn from me, I learn from you. It's just sharing of knowledge. It doesn't mean that one of us has to be right, or one of us has to be wrong. That kind of stuff. So that's kind of the general arching theme of the podcast, is that, and this one too, the Intense podcast, is that I'm going to have my own opinions, and you're entitled to your own opinion. And if you agree, that's fine. If you disagree, that's also fine. You can still continue to listen, and if you disagree, you can, put in the comments, and we can talk about it. Or we're not going to try to convince each other. You don't have to try to convince me. I'm not going to try to convince you. And we can just talk about it and then move on with our lives and to the next topic and stuff like that. So that's what I like. Let's see, what else? For Twitch, I will eventually start streaming on Twitch again. Just gotta figure out how I want to do that, and whether or not if I want to use the platform of Twitch, because I know Twitch is slowly like dying out. There's other streaming platforms that are that are hit now, so I might go on those ones just to since it's fresh and new, to gain the followers, and then we can also do stuff on Twitch. But for now, streaming, I'm not entirely sure yet. If I do stream or if I go live or something like that, it'll probably most likely go to where I know I'll get the most engagement. Well, no, I'll get the most engagement, which will be TikTok. So I'll most likely be streaming, live streaming on TikTok and stuff like that to you guys and all that. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for now. This wasn't planned to be like a super long episode of the podcast, but this is just me saying, hey, I'm back, and there's no one else but me. I have a lot of things in store for you guys, and if you guys stick around for just a little bit longer, then perhaps we can do something together. And I don't know why I slipped into an English accent. It's quite odd, really. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's weird because sometimes I like slip into accents just depending on whether I'm bored or nervous. So I guess full disclosure, I am pretty nervous because this is kind of a big step. I'm not quitting my job, anything like that just yet, but I think content creation is something that I would like to do full time. So with you guys' support and with you guys just hitting the like button, subscribing, sharing it, listening to it, wherever you guys are listening to this, I think that's a good start in me not working so much every day, and one day just being able to make enough money to provide for myself and for my family, and then I can also do this and entertain you guys. If I can do them both, entertain you guys and make enough money to support my family and myself and just whatever I want to do, then to me that's success. So I think that's what we're going to talk about on the next episode. We'll definitely talk about a myriad of topics, but I think success and what success is and what success can be, I think that should be an interesting topic to talk about with you guys. But yeah, you guys already know. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you guys thought. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, if you enjoyed this video, You can hit the like button, subscribe, and share. If you do not, that's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. But you can hit the like button, subscribe, and share anyways, and let me know how I can improve for you guys. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you'll most likely find me. This podcast is sponsored by Anchor. I'm gonna put the little advertisement in the audio version of this that goes on Spotify. You guys gonna hear the ad. You guys on YouTube, I don't think you guys need to hear it. I also don't have a video format of the ad yet, but if you see it in here, then great. If not, then you can ignore that. But yeah, you can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all that stuff at Daend Times. Follow me on Twitter at Daend Times. Follow the main channel, Joe to the End, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all those things. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Oh, also on YouTube, also on Instagram. We have an Instagram for the End Times podcast and for myself as my personal Instagram. You guys can check in with me there and see what I've been doing up with my daily life if you guys are interested in all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.